Can't hear me? Oh man. I keep forgetting that the button on my microphone is not working properly. I pressed the button, but it doesn't work. So anyway, sorry about that. All right, so let me start all over. I apologize for the long silence there. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. Sorry about that. So anyway, the last time we looked at our puppet, um, I had kind of limited myself because I didn't really mix up enough blue clay. So I mixed up this large batch of blue clay, which is fairly close to the same color as what we have here. It's not super precisely the same, but it's close enough. I didn't want to get too picky because I'm going to be covering the entire puppet. And so looking at the side profile, what I was showing before, well, you guys couldn't hear me, was that the puppet's really flat, you know, because I didn't have enough clay to really bulk up this character. And so I want to do that. And I also was saying that I'd like to add some clay to the back as well, kind of to fill in this character because, you know, I just kind of, it's kind of like one of those things. I just don't want to do a half-assed job here. So anyway, sorry about the again for the silence, everybody. So I do have also a photo of a large fat man on one of my computer monitors that I could reference, and it's going to give me a little bit of an edge on making this because reference, you know, helps you to visualize shapes easier. And so with this frog here, like I said, I just feel it's way too shallow, too flat, and so I wasn't really happy with that. So anyway, for those who haven't watched, I think this is probably, what part is this? Part 7. So it's taken this is about 7 hours of work, and it took me about a half an hour or so, I guess, maybe for mixing up the clay. So in case you guys don't remember, this is our design. This is what we're aiming for, and there's different colors, so we're going to tackle the lighter shades of color later on. We also have darker colored lips. We'll have probably some little like under eye bag type dark pieces, and we've also got some toes, which I don't know if I'm going to really make these toenails yellow or not. Might be kind of neat. We've also got like white teeth and stuff, but we're not going to tackle the teeth yet either. We're just going to basically work on all our forms here and reshape this puppet a bit. So, alright, let's see. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a neck. So now that I've got clay, I can just kind of go crazy with it. So I appreciate you guys coming tonight. I guess we got about 6 people, and as I mentioned before, I know tonight is like the final night of presidential election debates between Trump and Clinton, and you know, a lot of people are addicted to that, I guess you could say. It's like you know, who's going to say what, who's going to shake whose hand, blah, 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 blah. But it's kind of pointless, really. Or I feel it's kind of pointless. Especially now that we know that Hillary's going to win anyway. So anybody that puts any energy into politics right now, it's just a waste of time, I think. But I know that's going to affect our view count. I know Ron Cole wrote to me earlier. He's like, "Hey Mark, are you still going to have a live show? It's the most important debate. I don't want to miss it." And I was like, "Nope. I am going to still do my live show." So I know, Janet, you sent me a video on YouTube, a YouTube link, I think. Some kind of a video that you saw. I'll check that out later on. I didn't have time to look tonight when you sent me the link because I was trying to find a fat person photo before I started. So Jason's saying that's a lot of clay. This guy's getting pretty heavy, isn't he? Won't it be difficult to animate? The arms would. If I added a lot of clay to the arms, it would get difficult. But and I don't plan to animate from, you know, the body itself, just the arms and probably the legs. So I'm actually okay with it. But yeah, you gotta definitely consider that for sure. Like if you don't know if you guys can hear, there's like a thunderstorm going on. Hopefully the internet doesn't drop on me tonight. But yeah, you gotta always, you know, plan ahead with your sculpture. Like how fat do you want to make it? If it's a fat character. So you'll notice like a lot of, like the California raisins that Will Vinton created, they were sort of this about this size actually. One of the things they did when they wanted to animate a fat character like this was they would cut it in half, cut it here, and pop the top off from the bottom, and they would add plastic wrap inside there. You know, it's like food wrap, you know, really thin sheet of that, and that would allow for twisting of the upper body back and forth, and that was pretty much all they could do. But it was it worked. But if you think about someone like Jabba the Hutt or something, that's like it's really hard to move a character like that around. You kind of have to stick to having them sitting in one place like this frog is. You know, you couldn't really have them running around or jumping and walking and stuff, where their body and their hips are kind of going in the proper motion. Where like the top would bend this way and the bottom would bend that way, and they kind of go back and forth like this. That would be really tough with clay. You'd have to stick with something like foam latex if you wanted to do that. Yeah, so there are limits to clay characters. You gotta think it through. This guy here, I could do things to him to potentially have him be more flexible. Like I could actually put like a half sphere under here, like a ping pong ball cut in half, that he can twist on, or wow, okay. So I think Mother Nature doesn't want me to talk tonight. It's like, shut up, Mark. Be quiet. All right. So that's looking a lot better. Looking, more, a little bit fuller. Okay. Hope the electricity stays on. I think it might go out tonight. If the electricity does go out, I might cancel the show just because it seems to be getting worse out there as time goes on. So please don't go out, electricity. Oh man. Should probably close the back door there. Yeah, it's like Frankenstein's laboratory. It is almost Halloween, right? So. Alright. So, here's a side profile. You can see how much he's been pushed outwards. I think I'm probably going to bulk out the bottom even more here too. Let's see. Kind of give him some more of a jowl. Okay. Yeah. I kind of like, storms, but not during live shows, because I'm always like, oh man. It takes me a long time to set it up, and then the power goes out. Hopefully that won't happen. Let's see, so now, I want to make sure that both sides of this are somewhat symmetrical. So which side do I like more, this side or this side? I kind of like this here, so add some more clay. This side. Yeah, the crazy thing is we have this inflatable pool that we bought, and you can fit about 3 people inside of it. It's actually pretty nice, just for the summertime when it got really hot. And so I had to clean it, and it was sitting outside for a while, and it got like this black mildew in there. So I bleached it and made it nice and clean and everything, and we have a box to put it in, right? So every single day, I've been waiting for the bleach and the water that I use to dry out from the inside, and every day it seems like it's going to get nice and dry, and the sun comes out, and then it'll rain on it again. And so it's kind of frustrating. The weather has just been really weird here lately. It's been like either cold or hot, kind of like extreme temperature changes. It's always like that this time of year. Alright, so there's a side view. Let's see, I might add some more. Let's see, how does that leg look? Might add just a little bit more clay here. Bulk this leg up slightly. There we go. And so Stamp is asking what kind of clay am I using. This is just Van Aken. I didn't use any puppet putty in this, but I regret that I have not used puppet putty because it's so sticky. Puppet putty does not do that, so I would kind of prefer to use puppet putty, but it's too late for that now. And Janet's asking, do I like Halloween? Well, I mean, it's been something I've grown up with here. Like every year when you're a kid, you go out and you get Halloween candy from people, and it's fun. It's a fun thing. But now my son is the one who's excited about it. He's gonna be 8 in November. And tonight we actually put out the Halloween decorations. You know, we have like a box of old decorations that when I was a kid with my mom, you know, she used to get these like plaster characters that you can paint for the holidays. And so we have, you know, a few of those, and we have some orange lights as well. And you know, like kind of like Christmas lights, but they're orange. So we have some like a little string of those, and we put that on a table, and he put out the decorations, and he enjoyed it. And then he's gonna dress up, and we're gonna go trick-or-treating on let me see, I think that's on I think Halloween falls on a Monday here, which is kind of weird. Usually it's on a weekend, but I think this year it's like a Sunday, or not Sunday, a Monday. Alright. Gotta make sure he looks like he's actually sitting on something. I think his butt looks like it's floating in midair a little bit, so gonna add some more clay underneath. Bulk him up. I need to consider also like where I want the highest point of his belly to be. I want it to be up here, a little bit lower. I guess it's not too bad the way it is. Let's see. So Matt says, I'm not into the candy, but I love scaring the hell out of children. Yep, that can be fun for sure. Let's add some more clay up here too. Let's put some more. Oh. Get back in there. There we go. So he's starting to come together finally. I think he needs a little bit more of a shoulder. It's looking a bit nicer there. Shoulder here. So these arms will move just fine the way they are. Let's see now. And just a bit more clay here as well. Kind of give him this little bit of a fold of fat that goes into his like thigh and leg here. Janet says, I only love to eat the candy. Stamp is saying, I've been trying to get back into sculpting. I sculpted a realistic head the other day. Yeah, I remember seeing that. It turned out really well. Let's see here. Maybe add some more. A slight bit. So it really looks just like a semi? A semi. I don't get it. I don't get it. I know it's a joke, but I'm lost. Let's see. So Joy says, it turned out well. I spent about 20 minutes on one small ear though. It took so much time and precision. Yep. Just depends on how precise you want to be. I mean, like with this here, I could have just left it the way it was. But if you want to really do a good job, it does take a long time. I'm sculpting a realistic Angelina Jolie head for somebody, and you know, I roughed it out, and it was looking okay, but not very accurate, and so I ended up like cutting her head off, or her face off of the mannequin body that I built for it, and readjusting the clay and readjusting the head, and going into Photoshop and seeing how it looked compared to the real thing, and all kinds of stuff. And you know, but in the end, it'll be really nice, you know, and my customer will be happy. You know that's the important thing. But even for me, I've been sculpting my whole life, and you kind of get into these, like a rut. Like I don't think I was really sculpting that well recently. Sad to say, like you sculpt a lot and you think things are looking good, and then when you walk away from your sculpture and you come back, it just doesn't look right. And then you kind of realize, oh, I need to make some changes. Stamp says, will you be animating this figure, Mark? And I might. I built it to animate. You know, I put the inside of here. If you watch the earlier live shows, we built a armature during the live show with aluminum wire, and also some wire mesh for like I think the hands and the feet, and we used epoxy, so it'll hold up to animation. It's not just like a throwaway kind of armature where I didn't put any time into it. So how's that looking? I think that's looking better. You know, I haven't smoothed it out or anything, but just the shape itself I think is going to be nicer this way. And for the top part here, I'm going to also add like a more rounded area. Let's see here. Somewhere in here, this is probably good. Give this a little bit of a curve where his nose will sit. And I think I'll rough in maybe the lips a bit. Let's see here. So his lower lip's going to be sticking out. Now his lips are going to be darker in color. So my design has darker lips. So what I can do is there's two ways to go about that. I can either, you know, sculpt it with this lighter colored clay and then add darker colored, a very thin layer of darker colored clay over it. Or I can just go all the way with, you know, with dark clay. And for right now, I don't really know what I'm going to do. So it's going to be just like a temporary lips here. So Stamp says, will you be animating? Oh, I heard that. And sometimes it's the opposite, he says. Yeah. I mean, it just depends. Like, if you're in a certain zone, sometimes the sculpture doesn't take any effort at all. It just naturally, you're in a, like, flowing, you're like, just, it works, you know, as you're going. So Andres, welcome to the show, Andres. He says, is there any way to build a armature without epoxy putty? And yeah, we didn't use epoxy putty on this one. What we used was just epoxy itself, and what else did we use? Crazy glue. Um, so it's like a liquid epoxy and crazy glue. So the putty part's not really super, isn't always needed. And if you have bones, you can do different things with the bones, like you can take wire and wrap smaller gauge wire around splints. Splints being just pieces of maybe toothpicks or wooden dowels. That's one simple way to do it. So you don't actually need epoxy for that. But where you do need epoxy or some kind of even hot glue would be not preferable, but you can use something like hot glue, is to, when you attach, for example, the spine and the shoulders, you really need to have something there in order to do that. It has to be solid, like if I want to move the arms here, and I don't have the wire attached to a spine in a strong way, the other side of your puppet will move as you move this side. So that's kind of what you really need the epoxy for, is just some kind of a bond in between there. Alright, now, just a little more clay here, more of a cheek. And where else? Where else does he need clay? I guess that's pretty good. So here's a side view. Now I'm going to work on the back a bit and get this all looking almost normal compared to what it looks like now. And this part doesn't have to be really super accurate, the back, because we won't be seeing that if we animate this. But like the back of the arms are important. So we're going to add, make sure we have enough clay to cover everything up and have it look kind of decent and smooth. And our head as well. So Stamp says sometimes you do something that doesn't look right, but then when you come back to it later, it looks better. That's true too, yeah. And making realistic eyes. I do have a tutorial on making eyeballs on my my webpage, or on the webpage, and I think also as a YouTube video, how to make eyeballs for stop motion puppets. So you can search for that, but they're not going to be super hyper realistic like a human being. Like if you want it to have all the details that are in an eyeball, I'm trying to think. There are places that have tutorials on that. It just requires, painting it according to how a real eyeball looks. That's the main thing. Like, you don't even have to have the right shape, as long, or like a hole in there, like an iris, or a pupil. You can just paint it in there. I know Nick Hilligas. He's someone who also has some tutorials on it, where I think he was taking some printouts, like printing out irises and pupils on paper, and then sticking them on maybe like a glass bead, and then taking epoxy and then covering that so that it looks like it's got like an eyeball lens covering all that detail. It's kind of hard to explain without some sort of diagram, but ask like Nick Hilligas if you see him online. Pretty sure he's got one. Who else? Jordu Shell is somebody you might be interested in looking up. Jordu Shell, Shell Studio, Schell. He makes a lot of prosthetic masks and things like that, and also like Halloween masks and just alien sculptures and all kinds of cool stuff. And he paints eyeballs amazingly well. And if you study his work, it might give you some ideas on how you can make your own realistic eyeballs. Oh, okay. Catch you later, Joy. Yeah, Nick has some awesome tutorials online. He's got how to make, latex puppets and armatures and how to animate, pretty much everything. He's got a whole bunch of amazing stuff. I've never had him as a guest on my live show, but I think that would be fun, just to talk to him and have people ask him questions and show pictures of his work one day. I don't know why I've never thought to ask him on. I know he's in Australia. I know his internet's not the greatest too. That's the other problem. Every time he joins the live show, I know for a while there he was having a lot of problems. So Janet says, my mom tells me a story about her friend who wants to be a painter and go to art school, and when they have an exam from sculpting, someone cheating and come with done. Oh, somebody brought a professional sculpture to their class as a. They were cheating? Wow. That's crazy. Well, I guess cheating's been around for forever, ever since there's been tests, right? That is just crazy. Alright, so I think we're making some pretty good progress here. For only sculpting for a half an hour, I think we're getting pretty far along. I'll be happy that the back part of the sculpture is at least halfway normal looking. Yeah, if Nick can come on, I'd really like that too. I might try to arrange that. Just ask him if he'd be interested. Alright, so let's see. Some more clay around here under his butt. So he doesn't look like he's floating. It's actually kind of nice to have a lot of clay to work with here. So, if you guys are trying to sculpt your own characters, hey 30 Chompy, welcome to the show. I'm just sculpting on the back part of our frog puppet right now. So when you're sculpting and you want to sculpt kind of fast, well, if you want to sculpt properly, I guess I should say, you don't want to stick to one area and try to finish it. You want to kind of work the whole piece over so that you can see how your forms and shapes are looking. You don't want to try and like finish this area and spend like a whole day on it and then smooth it and everything. Because when you add clay to other parts of your puppet, you'll notice that, like, maybe this part needs to come out further, or this part needs to be less, maybe taken away. Like maybe it comes out too much. And also when you turn your sculpture, you'll notice, how shapes look differently. So for example, like right now I can tell you that the back of his head is flat looking, right? So if I had spent a lot of time on the back, now that I want to add more clay there, I would have just wasted all my time. So you want to keep it kind of rough when you're working on these forms. And you know, I know I smoothed out everything the last time, so that's not, you know, it's not wasted time because it helps you to see how things look smooth and if it looks right. So as I turn him, you know, I can see like his belly. From my point of view, I need to add a little bit more clay underneath the bottom part. Make it look nicer. So I'll just add some more clay under here. So now we're getting more shapely. More defined. And more aesthetically pleasing. Like if you're making a puppet, you want to try to make it look nice from many angles, because when you animate it, your camera's going to see the parts at different angles. So I have to make sure, for example, you know, when I make his arm, that when it moves down, you know, all these parts here are going to look nice. But as a general rule, as you sculpt a character like this with wire, you don't want to move the armature around unless you have to, because it weakens the armature, right? So you want to make sure that you kind of keep them in the same pose, and only move them if you really have no other choice, until you're at the point where you're going to animate them. Alright, thanks Chompy. Yeah, he's coming along. Not really sure about these lips, what I'm gonna do. I think that I might blend all this in here, kind of make it look nicer. So it's gotta be like this. Not really sure how far I want his lips to stick out. And the way I've drawn it, I don't know if I want to actually make it like this either, you know, because I've got like the side parts of the lips here, but I don't really have that here. So I've drawn it in a stylized way, but I don't know if that really works as a sculpture. So what I might do is just kind of make this look like a normal mouth. Big lips. Alright, well, let's add more clay to the back first before I do that. Cover up all this scrap clay that I used underneath. And again, for those who haven't watched all the parts of this puppet making experience, underneath here is just scrap clay, so I don't ever throw my clay away. So for example, if I animated this puppet or he got dirty and old and I thought, you know, I really hate this character, I want to just get rid of him, I don't throw it in the garbage. What I do is I just take the clay and I will take it off of this armature. Take something like like one of these tools where you can just like cut it all off. And I will melt it and put it in a tin, like a cookie tin, and save it so that I can bulk up my characters, my future puppets, and use less of my, the good clay. So Chompy asks, if the wire breaks in here, what do you do when you're animating? And with the way this is designed, I can't do anything. Once it's broken, it's broken. But the part about it that you design into it is that you don't just use one strand of wire. What you do is you twist the wire together, and what that does is it gives you redundancy. So if one wire does break, it has another wire inside there that will hopefully allow you to finish your animation. Now, if I knew I was gonna animate this on a lot of scenes, I would design it differently. I wouldn't. If I used the wire, I would have points where I could pop out these arms with brass tubes, and I could replace the arm. So they did that a lot at Will Vinton Studios. They would, for the California Raisins, again, as an example, because it was similar in terms of shape as this is, they would design it with these, modular arms that could, pop in and pop off. And so they could, keep reusing the armatures at least. The beginning of November here is when we vote. I think it's, November 8th? I think we vote for president. Yeah, but this is the last debate tonight, so we still got 10 people here, which is kind of amazing. But considering, it's still something that everybody wants to watch. I may watch it, but I don't know, maybe. Okay, so I'm going to look at this from the side again. I'll show you guys what I can see. So here's the side view. Now, I think the back of his head could probably come out even further. So if I wanted to have, a camera angle of this puppet where, because obviously he's locked down to this piece of wood. But if I wanted to have the camera turn in space, I would probably, I'm going to bring this, I'm going to do this to his face too. I think this is still too flat. But making the back part look nice gives me more options. More options are good. Yeah, yep. Crazy debates. A lot of hate in this country. A lot of fear and hate, politically speaking. Politicians, they don't realize that they have a lot of power when they speak to influence people, If somebody seems like they're smart and they say something, sometimes it's not really helpful. Let's see how that was from the side. So there he is, and I can tell I need some more clay about right here. Even more. A little bit more clay there. So he's got somewhat of a head. So I'm definitely happier with this, the way it's turning out, shape-wise. Compared to before, it was just way flat. I'm gonna make this a little bit more refined here as well. Just kind of get this all smoothed up. I don't really know if I animate this guy, what I'll have him do. I mean, what can I... Maybe I can get like a little voice track, or maybe I can have him like play a flute or something, or... I was thinking like I can have him do something kind of simple. And some people were saying that I could record it and play the recording of how I animated it during a live show. So you can see the basics of animation, which would be fun. Let's see, here. All right. head. And I think just a little bit more clay here. So there we go. So I know Aardman Animations does a lot of this kind of stuff where they make most of their, not most, but they make a lot of their characters out of clay. And they use Nuplast clay, which is not as bad on your fingers like this is. I think it's, it's kind of warm today, warm outside, and that's why you can hear the thunderstorms and everything. So it definitely affects how sticky the clay becomes. And with Nuplast clay, I've noticed that it's not nearly as sticky as Van Eycken clay in the US. And Aardman is in the UK, in the United Kingdom. And they actually have a certain formula that they use for their clay puppets. And it's made in a bubblegum machine that they've sort of tinkered with for the purposes of mixing up clay colors. So like this here, I used a pasta roller machine to mix up the white and the blue together. And a bubblegum machine, I can't really imagine like how they clean that when they're done, for different colors. I would think that they only use that for maybe like, massive amounts of clay. Alright, Chompy, catch you later. And Janet says, Studio Semaphore, when do Peter and the Wolf, they do a lot of dolls of Peter and replace them? Yeah, yep, I guess so. They use silicone for those puppets, which is a lot more forgiving than clay is, but it's a lot harder to make those kind of puppets. Like these kind of puppets, anybody can do these. That's kind of why I like them. And the final product is what you've sculpted. You don't have to make a mold and then inject it, silicone into the mold and do castings or anything like that. This is just kind of straightforward, and it can be really beautiful to watch if you animated, like a really well animated clay puppet. You can just put so much life into them if you're good at sculpting and good with expressions. In fact, you can give more expressions to clay than any other type of stop motion face. So even 3D printing, you could do it that way, and you can give a character a lot of different expressions and make replacement faces, and that works really, really well. And you can do many thousands of combinations of expressions that way if you really wanted to. But with clay, it's infinite. Whatever comes to your mind, you can sculpt into your character, and that's really amazing. And it doesn't require a knowledge of using, for example, ZBrush to make your characters in a digital 3D environment. So if you don't have $800 for ZBrush and you want to make a cool stop motion, then clay is a good option for you. The only thing is it requires that you can sculpt, and anybody can sculpt as long as you have some sort of maybe reference, like what I've done, drawn our character in a paint program, and you just do your best and you stick with it. You can get a really amazing character if you really want to. Alright, now, so I think we're getting close to the shape now. Let's see here. Give him his belly. Okay. So he doesn't have a nose yet, but I'll add some nostrils up here later on. I have 2 nostrils. Of course, his face looks really smushy. There we go. Now I'm going to add teeth in here later on. Not on this live show, probably next week. But I want to kind of roughen his mouth a bit better. I'm not really sure if that's going to be out enough. So Beard is saying, I thought ZBrush released ZBrush Core, which is like $150. That's great. If that's, I didn't know that. Oh. Well, thanks, Janet. Yeah, if you put your heart and soul into it, of course, yeah, you're gonna have a much better looking puppet. Let's see, maybe just a little bit. How's that look from this angle? Pretty good. Wondering about this face still. Alright. It's not too bad. So Beard says, yeah, they announced it just a few weeks ago, I think, along with features for the newest full ZBrush. Wow, cool. Yeah, they really need that. I mean, they have, what is it? Pixelogic, what is it called again? Sculptress. And that's a really good program, but it's so limited. Super limited. So, the way I had this in my design is this kind of lip is going to be, it's going to have this little crease here. Going to bring these lips out some more. I think they need to be further forward. This just about wraps up our show. So let's see, we've got about 5 minutes left. So I think after I kind of work on these lips a bit, next week what we'll do is we'll probably add the teeth in here, smooth them up. It's going to need smoothing for sure. Got a little speck of dirt on there. Get that off there. So we'll add some teeth. And that's always kind of cool. Like when you add teeth inside of a puppet, they look a lot nicer. A lot nicer than being toothless. Let's see. How's this looking here? I might kind of add a little bit of crease here. There's a ridge. Yeah, how old is, I think Sculptress is already at least, what, maybe 5 years old now or something like that. It's been a long time since they've done anything. And I've got friends and they're telling me, you can just like pirated off of a website and everything, and I can understand that. And a lot of people pirate ZBrush, but I always try to do it properly because I have a business. Like, I know what it means to. I know it sounds corny and all, but it's like having people steal your stuff it takes away from all your hard work sometimes. Let's see. And I think the reason why ZBrush is so amazing is because they do charge a lot for their product, and they can pay their people to actually make it a good product. Alright. So I think we're getting pretty good here. And, well, for the teeth, we could use a bunch of different things. We could use painted Sculpey teeth. It's possible to use that. I'm just going to use plain old clay, though. I'm just going to stick in maybe some ivory colored clay for the teeth. Now I'm just kind of roughing it in. Like, I might actually, in the end, I might cut these lips off and go in here with some darker colored clay and fill in some of the parts that I missed before. But let's see. Do this. Give me some more form here. Yeah, so he's not completely symmetrical. I kind of like that, though. Like, I might keep his nostrils, off center like this. Something it kind of gives him more character that way. I didn't design it that way, but it definitely looks neat. Okay. Of course, we're gonna have to give him some fingers next time as well. Need some fingers, but we're not going to do that this time. It's actually time to wrap up the show, but we've got lots of clay left over, which is great. Gives me more options. I don't have to worry about skimping on adding forms or anything. So there he is as he stands, and so next week what we'll do is we'll, like I say, smooth him up, give him some teeth, and then probably work on adding the different colors that are needed in the design on his body. I know that also for the eyeballs, I need to add some clay around the back parts of the eyes. So kind of like little cups that his eyeballs are sitting in. I might do that, especially if he's going to be blinking. He's going to need something here that I can add clay over for blinks. So we'll work on all that next week. So I want to thank everybody for stopping by. Let me go over here. So if anybody has any questions, you can find me on Facebook, or if you want to write to me at mark@animateclay.com. And of course, our website is animateclay.com, as you all know, and we are on of course YouTube, which is what you're watching. So please subscribe if you haven't. We're also on Twitter at @animateclay, and Facebook is @animateclayfan, and our intro music was provided by Monstercat. See you guys all next week.